A fella, a quick fella, might have a weapon under there. I'd have to pin his head to the panel.
Welcome to the Go Use Australia podcast. It's the podcast for Australian shooters who just want the political interference taken out of shooting.
So welcome to another episode of Gun News Australia, brought to you by Politics Reloaded and Gun Traders Australia. And don't forget you can support us by becoming a member of Politics Reloaded at our website at politicsreloaded.com or by backing our work through Patreon at patreon.com/Politics Reloaded. I have again with me the gun rally organiser for this coming week, Dave Finnie. How you doing, Dave?
I'm going very, very well, Neil. Very busy organising things at present.
Yeah, it's got quite a lot of airtime, which is good. And just to provide a bit of background, shooters may be aware that there was a gun rally earlier this year that on the WA gun laws that are now in place, which is causing so many problems. There is another rally that's coming up on Thursday, the 14th of August. So, Dave, can you tell us about what the rally is? And yeah, look, tell shooters about it so that they can be there.
No worries, Neil. I mean, this rally is, I think, as some of you might be aware already, a government overreach protest, if you like. They've obviously gone after the shooters at this point in the state, and that's causing us a lot of difficulty. And we have timed this rally quite deliberately on the day that a motion is being moved by Dr. Brian Walker on a disallowance of the regulations. And we're also appealing to the broader audience this time who know that they will be affected in the future if we allow government to continue to overreach into our ways of life in this, and certainly in Western Australia.
So the importance of this is that we've shooters be very well aware they've got the new Firearms Act, and that's supported by the regulations, which contains a lot of the details about that shooters are supposed to comply with. And there's a lot of details in the regulations, and that's where a lot of the problems have arisen. So disallowing the regulations is a very important democratic step, and at least trying to wind back things a little bit.
Correct. And look, I must say, Neil, I've been very encouraged with the support and the feedback we've had from the shooting community, who obviously was our first target in this rally. We've had a lot of organizations piling behind us, and that's been much appreciated. We've had lots of individuals in their own way contribute to our advertising campaigns and things like that. So it's been very positive what we're seeing from the community. I think we've touched a little bit of a nerve, and there's a realization that it's time to put some boots on the ground. And yeah, basically, we'd love to see at least 5,000 people at this rally. We need to make this a big one.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm going to correct myself. I said to wind back the regime a little bit. It's not a little bit. It's actually a big bit. What I'm suggesting is that there's not many wins in the journey so far that shooters have had, and this is
Yep.
this is a
Okay.
real opportunity for that. So in terms of the rally, so this is on this coming Thursday. Can you tell us about the what, when, where, uh, uh, how shooters can get involved in it?
Certainly. Look, this rally is obviously in Perth, Western Australia, and we're holding it on the forecourt on the steps of Parliament. And whilst the main sort of gathering is we're going to be at 12 o'clock onwards to about 1 o'clock, we are saying to people, please turn up early, um, come from 11 o'clock onwards, and don't be shy. Bring your placards, show them the passion, show them the facts. We are asking people to be not make sure their placards are non-abusive, but they can be firm and they can be passionate. So we do have to obviously be seen to be the adults in the room, but we can show the Parliament for once that we are a force to be reckoned with. And unfortunately, it's a Thursday, which is not ideal. But as we mentioned before, there is a reason for this timing. So it will be difficult for some people to take time off work. But if they're working in the city, it's a 15-minute walk.
And given what's at stake here, if you can't afford a couple of hours of your time, then and you're worried about losing your guns, having to buy another thing I recorded where I said you have to buy a Sherman tank to basically store your firearms in, then hey, it's only a couple of hours, really. That's what's at stake here. Small price to pay, lots to gain. Now, I know Mark Else from Mark and Sam covered the rally in a recent podcast he put out. He did a very good job of that. Also explaining the thing. Think about how you're going to get there. Like, you may not be able to park out. Well, you're not going to be able to park out in front of Parliament House. So, look, think about how you're going to get there. Grab a lift with a mate. Get public transport. Plan it ahead, but be there 11 o'clock and have a good day. And I can tell you now, if you're a member of of one of the of any of the major shooting organisations, put your colours on and show that support.
Certainly, and Neil, I mean, this is open to everybody. This is started off as an individual campaign. It's not under any banner. All are welcome. And that's the point we're trying to make. And I think that's touched a nerve with people this time, that there's been no, shall we say, organizational politics. It's just a groundswell of people that have said, time to do something.
If you don't stand up, as I said before, you don't stand up on this and just invest a couple of hours. There is something wrong, because West Australia is pretty much always had the worst gun laws in Australia, and now it's got, I mean, you've got the mental health checks, you've got the gun limits, you've got the storage requirements, you've got the highest fees in Australia, and a lot of that doesn't even comply with the National Firearms Agreement. This is purely an invention of the current Labor government. Yep. So I'm just going to show the poster which was created. So a lot of shooters may have seen. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. All right, they may have seen this. So this is the one that's been prepared to show that this rally isn't really just about guns. It's about freedoms and other things. So we're talking about the restrictions on forward drivers, the prospectors. There's the impact on live export. The ban on live export of sheep, the Cultural Heritage Act and the like. But obviously, for shooters, this is a big issue. So this is to support the disallowance motion, which we'll talk about in a minute, on the steps of Parliament this Thursday, 11 a.m. And there's a QR code down the bottom there, which I will blow up in a second. Can you tell us what the QR code actually leads people to?
The QR code will actually take you to a hosting site where it'll download a little bit more information about the rally. It'll confirm the timing, and it'll give you, I guess, an understanding as why we are doing this. And I guess I saw something recently in the media which I think maybe sums up where we're going with this. And it was a very simple little poster that said, if you need to disarm society to govern, then you suck at government. And I think that's really where this is all coming to.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, also, you've been a very busy boy. I mean, this petition, which will, as I said, we'll get onto in a sec. You're the key petitioner in that, so we'll talk about that. But supporting the rally, you set up a GoFundMe fundraiser to raise money to be able to get ads in papers to let the more and more shooters know that this rally's on, because not every association is all that good at getting the message out, but B, the majority of shooters are not affiliated to an organisation. So how else are they going to find out about it other than ads? And so what you've done, you funded this. I can see you're itching to have it say something. So before I show to the ad, what were you going to say?
No, you're quite right, Neil. It's been excellent. I mean, we've had support for the advertising campaign, and to be honest, I think we've gone further than I thought we even would.
Okay, so let me show. This is an ad that appeared in in one of the newspapers. I will just have to switch this on. So this obviously is meant to appeal to a wide church, that fishermen, for drivers, farmers, whoever else has been impacted by, I guess, the overbearing nature of the West Australian government. To basically, and centered around the Firearms Act, but as I said, it's more than just that. So you give details of the rally, the groups that are likely to be affected, and the details, again, is from 11 o'clock onwards on Thursday. So tell me about the ads, as in the reach you've been able to get so far,
Yep.
and what you hope to get I guess, in the little time that's remaining?
Certainly. Well, look, obviously, because we were unsure of the budget, we started off at the, shall we say, the smaller end of the newspapers. And as the budgets come in fact, other people have volunteered their own and have gone off on their own and advertised. So we're actually going to cover no less than 12 newspaper items. And that's going to be from regional to city-based smaller newsprint. And then we're going statewide at the weekend. We have actually succeeded in getting into the West Australian. And all I can say to people is please go out and have a look at the Saturday paper, the Sunday paper, and there'll even be a little reminder if we can get it right on the Tuesday paper. So a broad reach. This has gone beyond my expectations. It will all be out there.
Yeah, and call, several mates too. So you see the ad, you say, "Hey, Joe, people obviously got guns or an interest. So we got this on. Let's carpool. Let's go down and be at this rally. It's only a couple of hours. We'll then go and have a coffee or a beer or whatever afterwards. And then, but we made the point because, as you said, it's a sitting day of Parliament, and the MPs. This is designed, to create that, I guess, that visual thing for politicians. Now, um, now this is all funded by the GoFundMe. My understanding, in addition to the people who put their hand in their own pocket, is that you put your hand in your own pocket. So we've actually overspent, and for a good reason, because you can't. There was not much time to organise this, so you've got to just go ahead and just throw yourself in the deep end and do it. So I would definitely encourage shooters who are still just finding out about this. Check out the GoFundMe. The link to that is in the description to this video. And look, get help, pay for these ads. And obviously, if there's money left over, then that will be put to other publicity around. Try to reach out to even more shooters about the importance of the motion.
Thank you, Neil.
As we were talking before we hit the record button, most shooters aren't a member of an organisation. So
Correct.
whilst it would be great and convenient and efficient if we could have, a few voices helping to spread the message, the reality is that this is the only way to reach them.
Yeah, no, that's true, Neil. I mean, there is something like 70 odd thousand shooters in Western Australia that are not members of any organisation. And that's probably, 75% of the shooters are not getting information from their organizations. They're doing it on their own. And the other hope with going as big as we have with the advertising is that politicians will see this in the newspaper. TV channels will see this in the newspaper. And we're no longer just a couple of people on social media. We're bigger than that now. So we want to be seen to be a force and maybe attract some media attention as well.
Yep. Now, about the motion itself, I think we've covered it before that this is being moved by Dr. Brian. Actually, it's a petition that's being organised by Dr. Brian Walker, who's a member in the Legislative Council, with you as the key petitioner. I won't go through the details now, but basically it is to suspend the operation of the current act because there is also there actually is another review that's been happening, still underway to review the legislation. So I guess the two go hand in hand. Is that fair enough I guess, a fair enough summary?
Yeah, the act, I mean, even the government realized it was such a mess, they didn't oppose it being sent back for review. But that didn't achieve anything because reviews with 2,661 submissions will take potentially over a year to do. And in the meantime, nothing changes. Um, so does give us no relief, no hope, whereas Brian's one would actually stop functioning of the regulations. Then they have to revert back and sort out a mismatch and get something up and running, which they could do fairly quickly. It's not a nuclear option, as some suggests.
Pause there for a second. There are some very nefarious characters out there who are doing their best. I've got a separate video that covers this. I'll name names,
Yeah.
but there are people who are being very mischievous in what they're doing. They're saying this is a nuclear option. It will mean that because there's no regulations, the Western Australia Police will come and take their guns, take their ammo, basically destroy the whole shooting fraternity. The thing that is completely incorrect.
Correct.
You kindly sent me, I guess, a clarification, the actual clarification on what this is about from Dr. Walker's office. So I'd just like to read it. Not too long. So he said, voting to disallow the 2025 firearm regulations, which is the motion, would not, as some have suggested, be a nuclear option. The Interpretations Act 1984 states, and that act applies to all regulations. It's one of those, I guess, administrative type acts that applies across the board. It says that disallowance of regulations revives the previous regulations on and after the day of the disallowance, so that those who believe we would be left in some sort of lawless vacuum without operable regulations are quite simply wrong. Instead, West Australia Police will be forced to work under the old regulations until such time as Parliament approves a properly considered set in their place. So it basically just pulls up the old regs as a stopgap measure, forces everybody back to the drawing board, come up with a better set, then we can move forward. And if we don't like those, we'll just do it all over again. But that's the aim. It does not, as somebody else said, roll back the Act. The Act itself is different. That's legislation that's passed by Parliament. We're talking here only about the regulations.
Yep, that's quite correct, Neil. And I think all I could say about that is anyone who's been, shall we say, sharing these stories and being negative, well, they're actually showing their position. And that's a position, whether it be an organization, whether it be a politician, they're showing to be anti-liberty. So we'll move on with that because let's not dwell on negativity. We've had a really positive and successful campaign so far, so we'll keep it positive.
Now, so the urgency of this in fixing the problem is that this is like having a car without an engine. So you can't have an act without regulations. Realistically, what will happen is that when as the motion, or certainly the review of the Act, and maybe even the mechanics of this surface, when the government realises what's going to be happening, the government will be preparing media releases. It'll be preparing a strategy to deal with this before this is basically goes right through to conclusion and hits the media. So it's not as though there's people scurrying for cover. The government will have a plan B in its pocket. So I guarantee you what will happen is that if Parliament votes this motion through, if the petition goes through, the motion goes through, the government will have a strategy in its back pocket. And I can also guarantee you that no member of Parliament will want there to be a lawless vacuum. Right? No member of Parliament from any side is going to say, "Oh, it's okay to have no regulations." No. They want regulations, so they're not going to allow it to happen, but they're going to have to honour the motion. So show your support for shooting with our mouse pads, which feature pistol, rifle and shotgun shooting, and they come in two sizes. There's a regular size, which is 205 by 145, and the new large size, which is 230 by 190mm. And they can be yours for $20 for the regular size, or $25 for the large, or $7 and $12 if you're a supporter of Politics Reloaded. So to get yours, just drop us a line with the size you want and the delivery address to editor@politicsreloaded.com, or use the QR code on the screen.
Look, there is a possibility the weather won't be pleasant, but I think we're bigger and tougher than that. And in fact, even if we end up standing in the rain, it'll show a level of determination, which will be very good for us. So plan ahead.
You talk about shooters, you talk about farmers, you're talking about shooters who go shooting full bore in the worst conditions around. So you don't have a stomach for that.
Yep. And look, I mean, there will be precautions to be taken. Please, no camo. Keep this a family event. Bring your kids. We'll keep this as a, shall we say, let's be seen to be the responsible people challenging here. There will be security at Parliament, so we're in a safe environment. be aware that security may declare this a warning area, so we don't want anyone carrying any metal objects which might go against us or anything like that. And yes, just treat it for what it is, and that is a stand up, a protest. Make your plans how you're going to get there, how you're going to get home, and let's turn this into a really big and good day for all.
At the gun rally that was organised in February, so 2 rallies this year. It's pretty impressive, by the way, Dave. That's I don't think any state in Australia has managed to have 2 pro-gun rallies in the 1 year. There were people who, like these other nefarious people, who were saying, "Oh, you can't go. There's going to be troublemakers that turn up. There's going to be police there, and they're going to be wanting people because it's a wanting area. There's going to be CCTV. The media is going to to make a mockery out of this. They're saying it was a bad idea, for that reason. None of that happened. Not one of those things happened. In fact, if you look at the photographs that were circulating of that, what you saw was a peaceful protest with quite a few pot-bellied, middle-aged, people like myself, although I wasn't there, standing around a peaceful rally, and it was the only thing that happened at that rally was the sprinklers came on in the gardens. This is near the Supreme Court. So, none of that happened. So do not believe the naysayers, because they seriously have got no idea what they're talking about, and they don't deserve, the positions that some of these hold. So,
Totally correct, Neil. And in fact, at the last one, there was 2 police who eventually got bored and went home, I think, and went on other duties. We were well behaved, and shooters, by their nature, know the responsibility. They are actually responsible people by nature, because firearms are a responsibility.
please don't. I think those police, as I understand, actually right up early. They were just wandering, having a bit of a look. There's nothing, and they actually ended up chatting to some bloke who was holding, I think, from the Libertarian Party, because they knew the bloke or something like that. Yeah, it was a good old chat. Off they went. They didn't hang around. So none of that happened. So it was kind of a relief to know that there was absolutely nothing that happened. So anybody who wants to spread rumours about this coming Thursday, go away.
Yeah, no, I think we're in a very safe environment. We're well prepared. So Parliament have been advised they know we're coming. So it's all under control. I don't foresee any issues whatsoever.
Okay, and I think afterwards, go and have a coffee, go and have go wander around, have a bit of time to look around the city before you head back. So
absolutely. And look, for anyone who's, shall we say, on foot walking from the train station, and it's only a 10-15 minute walk. Hey, walk with your placards. Be proud. We don't need to hide from anybody.
No, not at all. All right, Dave Finnie, the WA Gun Rally organiser, thank you very much for your time today, and good luck with Thursday. And I hope we get the turnout which I think we're going to get.
Now, Neil, I'd just like to say thank you for you for support, and everybody who's watching this, I'd also like to say to them, again, thank you for your support. This has developed beyond my expectations, and I look forward to a big day at Parliament House on the 14th. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Gun News Australia, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're a supporter through Patreon, you'll get access to early release of the episodes as soon as they're uploaded, as well as the special weekly updates. So to support our work, simply go to patreon.com/politics reloaded, or use the QR code on the screen, or see the description in this episode for details.